On the 7th May this year, the 2021, a webinar meeting was organized jointly by the Taki Government College and Bucharest University of Economic Studies to commemorate the birth anniversary of Rabindranath Tagore, which falls on 9th May 2021. The program had been titled as Journey into the Creative World of Rabindranath Tagore, where students from either sides, the Taki Government College and the Bucharest University of Economic Studies, were the main participants. On the organizing part, Dr. Daniela Radler, Dr. Adriana-Elena Stoican from the Bucharest University, Romania, and Dr. Ayusman Chakraborty, a faculty member of English in the Taki Government College, took active interest and also championed the program. The Indian Ambassador to Romania, Moldova and Albania, His Excellency Mr. Rahul Shrivastava, graced the occasion with his motivating inaugural speech. Dr. Biplab Chattopadhyay, Principal, Taki Government College, delivered the initiating speech together with the rendering of a particular vocal interpretation. The motto of this endeavour has been to strengthen cultural bonding between Generation Next of our respective motherlands through exchange of views and thoughts on some creations pertaining to the nearly infinite literary world built by our most beloved Rabindranath Tagore. So, let us embark onto the journey with inaugural speech by His Excellency, the Indian Ambassador.
Renowned all over the world. Romania also has got a special connection with Rabindranath Tagore because Tagore visited Romania in 6, if I'm not mistaken. So it will be just about 100 years in 5 years. And I was reading about his visit to Romania. It was very interesting because he was on a trip to Europe. He visited several countries, and from Hungary or Bulgaria, I think Bulgaria, he came by ship to Romania. And when he landed here, for some reason, the news of his arrival wasn't here. So, but some people recognized, and I was again reading some newspaper reports which told about his arrival, that even when he arrived, the aura around him, because his personality was such that even people who didn't know him, knew that some great personality had arrived. So the officials were not there, but then thereafter he went by train. He came to Bucharest, where there were lots of people who were wanting to talk to him. He went and addressed the literary societies, and his visit inspired a lot of people in Romania to know more about Rabindranath Tagore and his work. Recently, this was about 2 months ago, we have a park nearby where I went and paid my tribute to Rabindranath Tagore because there's a tree which was planted in the name of Rabindranath Tagore, and this tree has grown very big. It is in a very beautiful beautiful place of the park. Rabindranath Tagore's work, and I should not forget to mention the name of Amita Bose because she was from West Bengal, and thanks to her works that a lot of whatever was done by Rabindranath Tagore, not just the ones which were brought to the Romanian public by eminent Romanian authors, but then she did a lot of translation of Rabindranath Tagore's works into Romanian, and there are loads of work. So that again brings me to another lady whose name is Carmen Musat. Some of you would be knowing. She was a student of Professor Amita Bose, and she has kept on the legacy of Rabindranath Tagore through Amita Bose, the work that she has been publishing. And the embassy has recently been partnering with Mrs. Carmen to get this great works of Rabindranath Tagore, which were translated by Professor Amita Bose to the greater public and to the larger audience in Romania. We have also taken the effort along with Mrs. Carmen to sent these books not just to university, but even to libraries, and it has been very well received in Romania. As far as the AAC is concerned, I want to update you on certain things that we have been doing because Professor Radler, I don't know whether you would be aware, but we have been, I've been in touch with your Deputy Dean, Mrs. Ili, and I recently addressed the students of AAC on India's foreign policy, and we have some more ideas on how we can take forward the collaboration between AAC and Indian universities. So I was very pleasantly surprised that you already have an association with Taki College. Usually when one thinks of association between India and Romania, you start thinking of universities which are in Delhi or very much in the big metropolitan cities. So this is because I also found that some of you had visited Taki College, so you may maybe give me some background of how the association started. And I see it's a good association because it continues to, someone was telling that about, Elena was telling that she went last year. So this association is not just one one-time relationship, but then you cooperate in events like this. Dr. Radler also sent me a number of papers that you have written. I can't say that I have read most of them, but I just had a glance over all the papers. So that's very great work that you are doing, because sometimes it is required that, well, the work of Rabindranath Tagore is great. People read it with enthusiasm, but sometimes it requires certain efforts. For example, if you have to bring this work to the Romanian public, they do understand English. It's always better that you do that in Romanian. So all that requires some effort, and it is events like this which bring the people of two great countries, India and Romania, together. So I congratulate both ASC and Taki College for this great initiative. I won't be able to stay here for the entire event, but then as much as possible, I will stay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your welcome address, Your Excellency. And now I will invite the principal, Dr. Biplab Chattopadhyay, to tell us his vision upon Tagore. And also he has prepared a particular surprise, which I think everyone will enjoy.
Okay, thank you everybody. My congratulations to all. To begin with my speech, I convey my sincere gratitude to the Ambassador of India to Romania, Moldova and Albania, His Excellency, Mr. Rahul Shrivastava, for his sharing his precious time with us this evening in our journey into the creative world of Rabindranath Tagore. I also congratulate my collegial friends from Romania, hailing from the Bucharest University, Dr. Daniela Radler, Dr. Elena Stoican, and Dr. Ayusman Chakraborty from Indian side, a faculty member of English at the Taki Government College, for turning this program from contemplation to the platform of reality. I gracefully endorse the presence of my colleagues in the English department of Taki Government College. I don't know whether they are present now. Vishwajit, Shambhuddha, and Rahul. I also acknowledge the valued presence of our most affectionate students from either sides of Romania and India, who will actually lead today's endeavor of strengthening cultural bonding between India and Romania to achieve its desired summiting state. The sole purpose of this August gathering, as mentioned, is very profound, and it is to nourish and hence enrich the cultural bonding between the generation next of Romania and India, standing on the platform of exploration of the world of literary creations by Rabindranath Tagore, uttered in Bengali as Bishwakobi Rabindranath Tagore. The motivating intention that prompted to organize this event on this date of 7th May is to commemorate the birth anniversary of Tagore, the 25th day of the month Boishakh, which falls this year on 9th May. So, to emphasize in completeness, we are to embark on a journey of exploration in togetherness into the nearly infinite world of creations of Tagore, so as to fortify the bonding between our respective motherlands through exchanges of views and thoughts on some creations of Tagore, who has been an adorable friend of Romania and the Romanians too. Honored dignitaries and dear friends, let me accede to the truth that we, the humans of this mundane world, are born students, and we remain in this attire throughout our life. And with this humble assent, let me remember and convey the glimpses from the vast and horizonless built of literary world by the genius of all time, our beloved Rabindranath Tagore. In his own conscious mind, Rabindranath Tagore was a believer of God and was an ardent preacher of Brahma philosophy. The same Brahma philosophy, which owes its root to Upanishadic ideals, had in many ways laid lasting impressions on the life and deeds of Tagore himself. The world of creations built by Tagore is multifaceted in nature, where one would find stacks of poems, novels, essays, short stories, travelogues, dramas of normal, musical, and dance varieties, and thousands of songs. Tagore's unparalleled brilliance is signified in all genres of literary creations. However, his fame reached luminous height as a poet and who added 50-odd volumes of poetry to his kitty of creations. That Tagore adapted to the spiritually liberal Brahmo doctrine in his own life comes to show vivid in his poems of rendering to the god contained in Gitanjali, wherein all the 103 poems had later been translated by the poet himself into English prose version known as Song of Rains. In the human society that is subject to the mundane nature, of all the rules that follows, only one remains eternal, and that is, change is unchangeable. This rule, meaning that the process change never dies, applies in a sense to the understanding of Tagore's creations by an explorer. If you read any of Tagore's creations at different stages of your life, you would definitely acquire changing realizations of the same with advancing time. In his age or era, Tagore was a prodigal talent and a living institution in the literary arena of Bengal. And this took him to the continents and nations of the world on the tours on lecture and friendship as well. And thus he became the friend of Romania, and hence we are here today in togetherness to travel through Tagore's creations. Owing to his Upanishadic leanings, Tagore throughout his life remained a passionate lover of the thriving nature and a prolific connoisseur of the countless happenings packing the natural surroundings. Even smaller of the smallest arising of nature could fascinate him to a high degree, and he would render his realizations about the mystical nature in poetic verses. Sfulingo is one such volume comprising a collection of 198 short poems or poemlet as told by Tagore. In the same volume, the poem numbered 127 was actually written first by Tagore in the notebook of Satyajit Ray, the filmmaker of Bengal, when Satyajit Ray had been visiting Shantiniketan along with his mother as a very small boy. The date of Satyajit Ray's visit to Shantiniketan on that occasion fell on 22nd December 1929, which, as per Bengali calendar, had been 7th Posh 1336. Dear friends, With your peer endorsement, I am to embark on reciting the mentioned poem from Sfulingo by Rabindranath Tagore, and also a poetic translation of the same in English that assembled in my mind. So here it is, the original poem 127 of Sfulingo. বহুদিন ধরে বহু ক্রোশ দূরে বহু ব্যয় করি বহু দেশ ঘুরে দেখিতে গিয়েছি পর্বতমালা দেখিতে গিয়েছি সিন্ধু দেখা হয় নাই চক্ষু মেলিয়া ঘর হতে শুধু দুই পা ফেলিয়া একটি ধানের শীষের উপরে একটি শিশির বিন্দু. And now the translation that is humming in my mind. Oh, my conscience, let me confess to you that for many a years I have been through distant places with the spending of extravagance and lavishness merely to feel the serene of the hills and the dazzling roar of the seas. After quite a spending though, cometh the insight in me. If only I could open my eyes to the few steps from my dwelling, I could see the twinkling of the rising sun, crafting the night dews on the golden grass, and making the rainbows of colors on the sky. With thy endowment, my conscience, I could have the delight of 100 oceans. I could have the solace of 1,000 seas. I believe I could provide in the list a commoner, simple but emotive realization of the poem in question by Tagore, and thus his profound attachment with the abundant nature. Now let me keep up to a promise I made, as rolled by my collegial friend Daniela, Dr. Radler. I will have to try out my ability for a particular vocal interpretation involving one of Tagore's numerous song offerings. To live up to the ethos of this gathering in nourishing the cultural bonding between our respective motherlands, I am trying out the song Boro Asha Kore Eshechi Go Kache Deke Lao, where the arduous call, "Oh my motherland, I have come to you, please embrace me to your asylum," this echoes unceasingly. First, I'm trying the original Bengali version of the song, and then the English translation rendered by the legendary singer Debabrata Bishwas. Debabrata Bishwas was, for that matter, a singer of many of the Tagore songs, and he translated also quite many of the Tagore songs. Well, let me try to render that song.
Just a second to present the slide with the transliteration for everyone to have a glimpse into Bengali.
বড় আশা করে এসেছি গো কাছে ডেকে লও ফিরায়ও না জননী বড় আশা করে এসেছি গো কাছে ডেকে লও ফিরায়ও না জননী বড় আশা করে এসেছি গো কাছে ডেকে লও দিনহীনে কেহ চাহে না তুমি তারে রাখিবে জানি গো দিনহীনে কেহ চাহে না তুমি তারে রাখিবে জানি গো আর আমি যে কিছু চাহিনে চরণ তলে বসে থাকিব আর আমি যে কিছু চাহিনে জননী বলে শুধু ডাকিব তুমি না রাখিলে গৃহ আর পাইব কোথায় কেঁদে কেঁদে কোথা বেড়াবো, ওই যে হেরি তমস ঘন ঘোরা গহন রজনী বড় আশা করে এসেছি গো কাছে ডেকে লও, ফিরায় না জননী বড় আশা করে এসেছি গো কাছে ডেকে লও। What a high hope I have come up to you, hold out to your arms. Oh, mother, don't you send me back. What a high hope I have come up to you, hold out to your arms. Nobody likes to care for destitute, I will give refuse. I know, well, I know. Nobody like to care for destitute, I will give refuse. I know, well, I know. I have no other desire in me but to remain seated on your feet. I have no other craving in me but to call you, oh mother dear, unless sheltered by you, where else shall I gather home? Where shall I go about weeping? There, behold, there's the very deep and thick darkness of the night, where the high hope I have come up to you, aloud to your arms. Oh, mother, don't you send me back, where the high hope I have come up to you, aloud to your arms. Oh, mother, don't you send me back, where the high hope I have come up to you, aloud to your arms. I convey my sincere thanks to all those present in this noble gathering, especially His Excellency, the Indian Ambassador to Romania, Moldova and Albania, for patient hearing and for the consequent inspiring acknowledgement. Once again, I thank you all. I request my collegial friends and affectionate students on both sides to continue with today's exploration into the literary accumulations of Tagore. Thank you once again, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chattopadhyay, for your emotional and inspired opening of this event. And I feel very touched by your words and everything you have conveyed to us. So thank you very much for the effort into this. And I will ask our colleague, Dr. Chakraborty, to open the first round of recitations, and we will announce the students in what order they go, and we will follow this first part of our event today.
Thank you, Dr. Radler. A very good evening to His Excellency, the Indian Ambassador to Romania, Moldova, and Albania, the honored guests, my esteemed colleagues and dear students. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Your Excellency, the Ambassador to Romania, Moldova, and Albania for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today in this program and for encouraging us. I'll also thank my esteemed colleagues, Dr. Radler and Dr. Stoican, for this program. So we have met today to remember Rabindranath Tagore on his 160th birth anniversary. Outside India, Rabindranath is known mainly for his poems, but he was also a prolific writer, and his complete works runs to 29 large volumes and cover almost every literary genre. And I find that my words fail to convey the depth of his genius. So therefore, I think it is more fruitful to enjoy the recitations of his poems, and then to exchange our ideas with each other. I'm certain that we will arrive today at a deeper understanding of Tagore through this process. So without any further delay, I will invite the first round of speakers one by one to acquaint us with various sides of the poet's genius. So I begin by inviting my esteemed colleague, Dr. Adriana-Elena Stoican, to share with us her presentation on Tagore. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm a bit nervous now after the beautiful words. I don't know if I have permission to share my short presentation.
Yes, sure.
Can I? Oh yeah. Okay.
Please.
Just a second. Okay. Thank you. All right. So actually, I have focused on, it was really difficult for me to choose from Tagore's letters from the collection Glimpses of Bengal. So I have been trying, and then I, well, actually selected a few fragments where the poem, while traveling by ship, he contemplates nature, and while contemplating nature, he reaches very philosophical conclusions and thoughts about profound thoughts about the human condition and the permanence of nature. And I will read this quote where the poet reflects: "I sat wondering, why is there always this deep shade of melancholy over the fields, arid river banks, the sky and the sunshine of our country? And I came to the conclusion that it is because with us, nature is obviously the more important thing. The sky is free, the fields limitless, and the sun merges them into one blazing whole. In the midst of this, man seems so trivial. He comes and goes like a ferry boat from this shore to the other. The babbling hum of his talk, the fitful echo of his song is heard. The slight movement of his pursuit of his own petty desires is seen in the world's marketplaces. But how feeble, how temporary, how tragically meaningless it all seems amid the immense aloofness of the universe." So I was just impressed by the way in which the poet is impressed by nature, the simplicity of nature at the same time induces very, very deep thoughts about permanence, transience, and the whole struggles of humanity that seem pointless when compared to the great aloofness, yeah, of nature. And then he continues in the same letter, he continues these reflections and emphasizes the contrast, the clear opposition, yeah, between nature and man, but using such very beautiful and poetic images. And I quote again: "So the contrast between the beautiful, broad, unalloyed pace of nature, calm, passive, silent, unfathomable, and our own everyday worries, paltry, sorrow-laden, strife-tormented, puts me beside myself as I keep staring at the hazy, distant blue line of the trees which fringe the fields across the river. Where nature is ever hidden and cowers under mist and cloud, snow and darkness, there man feels himself master. He regards his desires, his works as permanent. He wants to perpetuate them. He looks towards posterity. He raises monuments. He writes biographies. He even goes the length of erecting tombstones over the dead. So busy is he that he has no time to consider how many monuments crumble, how often names are forgotten." So although it is the same idea of this contrast between the human condition and the impermanence of nature, we clearly have this impulse in a way to transcend whatever it is insignificant and reach a more spiritual level beyond our petty worries, as he calls them. And maybe last but not least, at some point in his reflections and memories, he expresses the ideal of becoming a poet. And I quote: "A sudden longing came upon me to go back to the day of that song, to be allowed to make another essay at life, this time not to leave it thus empty and unsatisfied, but with a poet's song on my lips to float about the world on the crest of the rising tide, to sing it to men and subdue their hearts, to see for myself what the world holds and where, to let men know me, to get to know them, to burst forth through the world in life and youth like the eager rushing breezes, and then return home to a fulfilled and fruitful old age, to spend it as a poet should. So again, in his travels in Bengal, he makes, many, actually the words are very, the letters are very rich in imagery, but I was impressed by his commitment here to becoming a poet, to connect himself to the world and enrich the world by means of his ideas. Well, thank you for your attention. So my presentation was not as long as the first ones, but I hope it is just a glimpse on Tagore's letters that are represent another part of his creation. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. It was a brilliant presentation. We really enjoyed it and we learned a lot.
Thank you so much.
So I next invite Dr. Daniela Radler to present her, to share her presentation on Tagore.
Thank you, Dr. Chakraborty, and I will continue His Excellency's opening into Tagore's legacy. As His Excellency very suggestively pointed out, Tagore was present in Romania, part of a tour in 1926, and I have just extracted a couple of things from his visit, and also for Romanian students, as well as our colleagues in Taki Government College. This is one of the books which presents in both English and Romanian his testimonies of this time, and in connection with this book, but also some of the reception of the time, I have just put together a couple of thoughts for our today's events. So what it is, so it is about Tagore's visit to Romania. What it is interesting to note from one of the first articles in the newspapers, this one being published in a major daily newspaper, Adevărul, or The Truth, is that his visit was popularized while he was coming from Bulgaria to Romania. And journalists were already keen to give voice to what he was doing in Bulgaria, and the way he was going, he was expected with high emotion to arrive in Romania. So he already delivered two lectures there, and he was expected to come by train in the following days. And I just took one brief extract from during his visit. And as we can see, journalists, of course, made use of, took lots of pictures during his visit. But I liked this particular quote: "Bengali, musical par excellence, it is song, a symphony of the infinite in Tagore's poems. His conference at the National Theatre was a genuine feast of the soul. Tagore's life story is the most exquisite poem recited by the greatest poet of the mankind." From another daily newspaper, Adevărul Literar and Artistic, Literary and Artistic Truth Review, on the 20th of November 1926. And this is one of the few persons, intellectuals of the time, Florica Botez, in a drawing done by her own daughter, she was exchanging letters with Tagore's and Tagore's secretary, Ayusman Chakraborty, before Tagore's arrival into Romania. This particular poem was discovered several decades ago and republished and rediscovered and represented to the world from the volume which I've already mentioned to you. And because maybe the poem it is a bit too long, I would just like to give a voice to the ending, which I think will inspire us to go into Tagore's thinking and poetry. Life is a plain in full blossom, thoughts which can never be molded into words, talk to the heart only in sacred songs. Thank you.
Really, I thank you, Dr. Radler, for this insight into Tagore's reception, and it opened up a lot of new things for me. I really didn't know these things, so I thank you. It's a wonderful presentation. So next, I will invite the students one by one to recite the poems by Tagore. First, I will invite Priyanka Dotto from Taki Government College. She will be reciting Gitanjali 35, where the mind is without fear. Priyanka?
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, please. Yes.
Respected principal, honorable guests, all the teachers, and my fellow friends. Good evening, everyone. I feel extremely delighted for being able to recite the poem in front of you all. Before I begin, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to His Excellency, the Indian Ambassador to Romania, Moldova, and Albania for his encouraging presence. I am Priyanka Dotto, and I'm going to recite his famous poem, Where the Mind is Without Fear. Where the mind is without fear, and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depths of the truth, where tireless striving stretches his arm towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is laid forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanka, for your wonderful performance. Next, I invite Christian Schioppa for, he will be reciting Playthings.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chakraborty. I would like to, should I share screen for everyone to read it? I would like to share screen. I have to join from another device, so please accept the request.
Okay, please.
Just a minute. It should show up. Okay, thank you. Right, 1 second. All right. The child, how happy you are sitting in the dust, playing with a broken twig all the morning. I am busy with my accounts, adding up figures by the hour. Child, I have forgotten the art of being absorbed in sticks and mud pies. I seek out costly playthings and gather lumps of gold and silver. But with whatever you find, you create your glad games. I spend both my time and strength over things I can never obtain. By Rabindranath Tagore. I have chosen this poem because it resonates with some of my values and what I understand should be universal values, to not get greedy, to appreciate the little things, and to learn to enjoy the easier stuff to obtain, as shown here by the genius poet Tagore. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. It was a wonderful presentation. Then I will invite Sanchoita Mitro, and she will be reciting On the Seashore.
Yes, sir. Happy Rabindra Jayanti. My felicitation to Sovereign and Decent Ambassador of India to Romania, Moldova and Albania. And and my respected professors here and my all mates. And now I'm reciting On the Seashore from the collection of Crescent Moon by Rabindranath Tagore. On the seashore of endless worlds, children meet. The infinite shall I start, sir?
Yeah, please.
On the seashore of endless worlds, children meet. The infinite sky is motionless, and the restless water is boisterous. On the seashore of endless worlds, the children meet with shouts and dances. They build their houses with sands, and they play with empty shells, and smilingly float them on the vast deep. Children have their play on the seashore of worlds. They know not how to swim. They know not how to cast nets. Pearl fishers dive for pearls. Merchants sail in their ships, while children gather pebbles and scatter them again. They know not how to cast nets. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sanchoita. So it was a nice citation. Then I will invite Hirok Shamondo, who will be reciting Gitanjali 45. Have you not heard his silent steps? Yes, Hirok, we can hear you. I think it is a connection problem. Yeah, we can. I'm sorry, Hirok. I think there is a connection problem, so we can't hear you properly. Can you try again?
Well, Ayushman, I suggest that you go to the next participant and then him make his connection okay, and then let him come back. Just tell him that.
Okay. So Hirok, we can't hear you right now. So I suggest you leave and rejoin the meeting. So then probably your connection will be okay. So then sorry, we can't hear you. You can do one thing. You can try to disconnect and then rejoin, and perhaps it might be okay. I'm sorry, we can't hear anything. So We'll then give you the chance. Don't worry. So then, since Hirok is having trouble with it's a network problem over which none of us has any hands, so I would then call Adina Pound. She will be reciting the beginning.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and to present. I will recite the poem, The Beginning. Where have I come from? Where did you pick me up? The baby asked his mother. She answered, half crying, half laughing, and clasping the baby to her breast. You were hidden in my heart as its desire, my darling. You were in the dolls of my childhood's games. And when with clay I made the image of my God every morning, I made and unmade you then. You were enshrined with our household deity. In his worship, I worshipped you. In all my hopes and my loves, in my life, in the life of my mother, you have lived. In the lap of the deathless spirit who rules our home, you have been nursed for ages. When in girlhood my heart was opening its petals, you hovered as a fragrance about it. Your tender softness bloomed in my youthful limbs, like a glow in the sky before sunrise. Heaven's first darling, twin-born with the morning light, you have floated down the stream of the world's life, and at last you have stranded on my heart. As I gaze on your face, mystery overwhelms me. You who belong to all have become mine. For fear of losing you, I hold you tight to my breast. What magic has snared the world's treasure in these slender arms of mine? I chose this poem because I really like the unbreakable bond between mother and child that is portrayed in this poem. And the fact that a child is perceived as a gift sent by God, and the mother is very grateful to be chosen by the baby as his mother. And I really like the quote, you were hidden in my heart as his desire, which suggests that a mother's love is unconditional. And the mother and the baby have a connection even before he was born. They have a soul connection. And the baby is described as the world's treasure, which for me was very nice and emotional. And I also like the quote, you who belong to all have become mine, which again highlights the gratefulness that she feels because she is able to have such a wonder in her life. Thank you.
Thank you, Adina, for your presentation and for sharing your thoughts. Yes, it's quite a beautiful poem and one of my favorites too. So I really thank you for your analysis also. So then I will invite Suparna Odhikari. She will be reciting Gitanjali 36. This is my prayer to thee.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me this scope to recite a poem of the enlightened poet Rabindranath Tagore on his birth anniversary. Before I begin the recitation, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to His Excellency, the Indian Ambassador, Mr. Rahul Shrivastava, to Romania, Moldova, and Albania. And also to our principal Biplab Chattopadhyay and our Honorable Professor Dr. Ayusman Chakraborty, who encouraged me to recite on this great day. I would like to recite song number 36 from Gitanjali. This is my prayer to thee, my Lord. Strike at the root of penury in my heart. Give me the strength lightly to bear my joys and sorrows. Give me the strength to make my love fruitful in service. Give me the strength never to disown the poor or bend my knees before insolent might. Give me the strength to raise my mind high above daily trifles. And give me the strength to surrender my strength to thy will with love. Thank you.
Thank you, Suparna, for this wonderful presentation. It was nice. So then I invite Dana Tash. She will be reciting Blessings Have I Won in This Life.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to present and for a wonderful event. Thank you for all of your hard work to provide such a well-organized and informative event. Yes, the poem that I have chosen is Blessings Have I Won in This Life. Blessings have I won in this life of the beautiful. In the vessel of man's affection, I taste his own divine nectar. Sorrow, hard to bear, has shown me the unhurt, unconquered soul. On the day when I felt death's impending shadow, fear's defeat has not been mine. The great ones of the earth have not deprived me of their touch. Their undying words have I stored in my heart. Grace I had from the God of life. This memory let me live in grateful words. What caught my attention about this poem in particular is the common ground between some of the studies I had in high school about the American poet Walt Whitman's themes, especially with Song of Myself. And I felt that the earth reference in Tagore's poem makes me think of Whitman's tendency to glorify the earth, heaven, and innocence. I also noticed the love of freedom, and it's manifested in a very touching manner here. And it also the free verse is I feel that is a medium of freely and fully expressing the aspirations of the human heart. Tagore's poem begins with blessings have I won in this life, while Whitman's poem begins with I celebrate myself and sing myself, both of them having in common this ecstatic celebration of the self. And I researched that this celebration can suggest the inner spirit, which from my research is the first principle in Hindu philosophy, which is named Atman. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, and I'm sorry for it. And I've heard that it has the significance of eternal self, and I found it really impressive. And it refers to the real self beyond ego or false self. And it is often referred to as spirit or soul and indicates our true self or essence, which underlies our existence. Thank you so much for your attention. It's a very pleasant experience for me.
Thank you, Dana. It was a nice presentation, and as well as I liked your analytical reading that you provided and the comparison between Whitman and Tagore. It was really nice, and it gives a lot of food for thought. So yes, thank you so much. Okay, so with this, we end the first round of speakers, and shall we open the discussion now, or shall we do it afterwards?
Ayusman, just a word. I mean, I think that the student who was not having connection proper, probably has come up with his connection. Just give him a chance. Hidok Shaman.
Sir, Hidok, I think he cannot join. He has written to me in WhatsApp that he says that he has network problem, and he has tried more than 10 times, but unfortunately he cannot.
Okay, carry on.
So I have written to him to try again. Let's see if he can. Hidok, are you here? I don't think he's right now.
Okay, so carry on then. Let's see.
Okay. So what shall we do? Shall we open it for discussion now, or shall we do it at the very end? I think it is better to have the discussion at the very end, so that all can join. And then, so with this, I end the first round, and I invite Dr. Stoican to invite the second round of speakers. And
Thank you. so much. Well, so now I am honored to invite and open the second round of speakers, starting with Bivash Pal with the poem Gitanjali 79, If It Is Not My Portion.
I'm sorry to inform both Bivash and Preeti Sen, Bivash Pal and Preeti Sen both are actually ill with corona. So yes, I'm unfortunately they cannot join.
So
they're
then,
very ill.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So Shubhashini will be doing a piece, but we can start with somebody else.
So maybe then shall we have Bianca Vlagali with the clouds heap upon clouds and it darkens, I guess.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm grateful and delighted to be here today. I'm Bianca Vlagali, and I will recite the poem Clouds Heap Upon Clouds and It Darkens. Okay. Clouds heap upon clouds and it darkens. Ah, love, why dost thou let me wait outside at the door all alone? In the busy moments of the noontide work, I'm with the crowd, but on this dark, lonely day, it is only for thee that I hope. If thou showest me not thy face, if thou leavest me wholly aside, I know not how I am to pass these long rainy hours. I keep gazing on the far-away gloom of the sky, and my heart wanders, wailing with the restless wind. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice. Well, you have a very nice intonation, so congratulations. And I think we can now move on to Kalpana Mondal with 12 o'clock. I hope. I hope I'm right.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Before I begin, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to His Excellency, the Indian Ambassador to Romania, Moldova and Albania, for his encouraging presence with us, and a special thanks to all of my respected teachers. I am Kalpana Mondal. Today we celebrate the 160th birthday of our great poet, novelist, dramatist, Rabindranath Tagore. In this occasion, I am going to recite one of his great poem, 12 o'clock. Mother, I do want to leave off my lesson now. I have been at my book all the morning. You say it is only 12 o'clock. Suppose it's not any later. Can't you ever think it is afternoon when it is 12 o'clock? I can easily imagine now that the sun has reached the edge of the rice field and the old fisherwoman is gathering her for her supper by the side of the pond. I can just shut my eyes and think that the shadows are growing darker under the mother tree and the water in the pond looks shiny black. If 12 o'clock can come in the night, why can't the night come when it is 12 o'clock? Ma'am, thank you. Ma'am, can I recite this poem in Bengali version? Thank you.
Welcome.
In Bengali version, this poem name was Proshno, Rabindranath Tagore. মাগো আমায় ছুটি দিতে বল, সকাল থেকে পড়েছি যে মেলা, এখন আমি তোমার ঘরে বসে করব শুধু পড়া পড়া খেলা। তুমি বলছো দুপুর এখন সবে, না হয় যেন সত্যি হলো তাই। একদিনে কি দুপুর বেলা হলে বিকাল হলো মনে করতে নাই? আমি তো বেশ ভাবতে পারি মনে, সূর্য ডুবে গেছে মাঠের শেষে, বাগদি বুড়ি চুবড়ি ভরে নিয়ে ছাক তুলছে পুকুর ধারে এসে। আদার হলো মাদার গাছের তলা, কালি হয়ে এলো দিঘির জল। হাটের থেকে সবাই এলো ফিরে, মাঠের থেকে এলো চাষির দল। মনে করো না উঠলো সাজের তারা, মনে করো না সন্ধে হলো যেন, রাতের বেলা দুপুর যদি হয়, দুপুর বেলা রাত হবে না কেন? Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice to have both versions. Thank you. And well, last but not least, in this section, we have a joint venture, let's say, with Suhashini Imtiaz and Cristina Luca reading together from Light, or Where is Light?
Yeah, I will do a share screen right now. I hope you will be able to see. Just one moment. Let me know if you can see the presentation.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
No, not. Okay,
Not
okay. Just sure. 1 second. Okay, I think now you are able to see.
Yes.
Is it working?
Yeah, I can see the desktop, and now the PowerPoint is. I think you are opening.
Opening, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, the poem we will recite today is included in his famous collection of poems named Gitanjali. We chose this poem as the light has the role to symbolize God, knowledge, positivity, and happiness. Tagore wants the presence of God to be felt inside him, and that could be achieved only by awakening the light inside him. Light, oh where is the light? Light, oh where is the light? Kindle it with the burning fire of desire. Suhasini, it was her part right now?
I'm sorry, I think Suhashini is having trouble. I'm trying to let her in.
Okay, I understand. It's okay, I can recite. Okay. The sky is overcast with clouds and the rain is ceaseless. I know not what this is that stirs in me. I know not its meaning. A moment of flash lightning drags down a deeper gloom on my side, and my heart gropes for the path to where the music of the night calls me. Light, oh, where is the light? Kindle it with the burning fire of desire. It thunders and the wind rushes screaming through the void. The night is black as a black stone. Let not the hours pass by in the dark. Kindle the lamp of love with tile light. Okay. Thank you so much.
Very beautiful.
I will stop sharing right now. Just one moment. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well, so I guess this was the end of this section, right?
But Dr. Chakraborty, can you please tell us if Suhasini will recite another poem?
I see Suhashini is here, but I don't know if she can hear us or not.
Probably.
Suhashini, if you can hear me, then please unmute your microphone. I think you, yes, you've opened your camera, but please unmute your microphone because we can't hear you.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you now. I'm sorry you had connection network problem. I'm sorry for that.
Okay, shall I start?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I speak to His Excellency in Romania, Moldova and Albania, and and I would like to invite one poem from Rabindranath Tagore, which means
Yes. It's not
connection problem.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Can you try to say the because we did not hear you?
Okay, am I audible now?
The sound has fluctuations. We hear noises instead of full words.
Just check your connections. I mean, the audio
Yeah,
connection.
the sound seems strangled, fragmented. Try it again, and if it does not work, get out of Zoom and enter again, and I think it will be better. And maybe you move a bit in your room or where you are. Sometimes the connection depends on the place.
Yeah, the signal.
Because we will we wait for you.
Yeah, it happens. What can you do?
Until Suhasini manages to get back, I think we can open the discussion together. And when she manages to join us, we will continue because we are flexible and open. And of course, we have to face unexpected fluctuations and little glitches. But that will not stop us from continuing and even inviting her in again. So I would like to openly invite everyone to express your opinions. We have listened to a variety of poems, very diverse thoughts, very diverse imagery. It would be interesting to reflect upon those kinds of thinking, and also maybe you can even think of other writers or your own personal perception upon the poem and what it transmits to you, and maybe even why you have selected that particular poem. And if you are not brave enough, we can try together to inspire each other. And I will start with our student Kalpana. Would you please tell us why did you choose this poem? Yeah, and I like very much your attire today. I don't know if it is traditional or not, but I think it fits in with our creative environment. So could you please tell us? And I liked also that you gave us a glimpse into the Bengali original version. Why did you select this one? And what it tells you, in what way?
Okay, ma'am. Can I start? Ma'am, you hear me? Okay. Yes. I choose this poem because it is one of my favorite poem of my childhood. Firstly, I read this poem in Bengali version named Proshno when I was in 3rd standard. I like this poem because I have a wonderful resemblance to the child that the poet described in the poem, and the nature that the poet mentioned in the poem seems to be intimately involved with my environment. So I love this poem very much. Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
Dana, please unmute your microphone.
Yes, sorry. I'm alternating between on and off. Thank you for telling us your thoughts about this, and that you have been familiar with the poem for a longer while. Yeah, I also hope that maybe in the future it will maybe even become a favorite poem of your, I don't know, children or other members of your
Yeah.
family, because I think
Yes.
the idea of human connection and also connection with nature comes up as a dominant of Tagore's vision upon life. All human beings are close to him, and even one of the poems was describing the connection with water, and I also enjoyed that very much, because in even humans are maybe could be associated to droplets in a vast ocean. Yeah, so his vision upon humanity and human existence also can be looked upon from this perspective.
Yes.
I would also like to invite Suhasini, if her connection is a bit better now.
No, it is.
I don't think she's here yet.
Well, I think you carry on with other participants. Probably the connection is flickering actually. So carry on with other participants to share their views. Invite other students also.
Until Suhasini get back, could then Priyanka also tell us her opinion about the poem she recited and in what way she thinks this connects with other, I don't know, other thoughts of Tagore or even other writings of other Bengali writers or even English speaking writers? We would be interested to know.
Tagore, a poet of outstanding caliber, whose poetry is spiritual and sublime, simple and timeless at the same time. For Tagore, it was the highest importance that people be able to live in reason and in freedom. His attitude towards politics and culture, nationalism and internationalism, tradition and modernity can all be seen at the same time. The light of belief, nothing perhaps expresses his values as clearly as the poem I recite, where the mind is without fear. So I chose this poem. Thank you.
Thank you for giving voice to your thoughts. And I would also like to ask the principal, Dr. Chattopadhyay, when he thought about this particular song and also peace, how do you reflect, how do you think that, you know, the mention of the mother, so such another human bonding, do you also see it as a dominant in Tagore's thinking, or do you think there were maybe even other figures who maybe we are not aware, but they still come up in not only in his poems? He had vast correspondence. He was creative in, you know, various ways. So how would you perceive the connection with the very dear ones?
Well, in my speech I have mentioned, probably all of you have followed, that Tagore was a ardent believer of God, and he was actually lean towards Brahmo philosophy. And actually, what Brahmo means is that, I mean, the the believer of Brahmo philosophy, or the preacher and practitioners of Brahmo philosophy, they actually think that there is an Almighty above everything in this mundane world, or if there is anything beyond this world. So we should, in all our renderings, I mean, think of that Almighty. And all our deeds and all our practices throughout our life should be to get merged with that Almighty. He also thought, I mean, the Brahma philosophy also is being cast in that way, that we are all part of that Almighty, or that I mean, immense energy, or that immense power, which is actually, I mean, controlling the whole of this universe. So, and also, I mean, whenever a person is lean towards Brahma philosophy, it is seen that all these people who were follower of Brahma philosophy, they were really very strong lover of the mystical nature. Actually, we know that in all our, I mean, explorations, say towards in terms of scientific tools, or in terms of aesthetical description, or in terms of spiritual practices even, we try to explore the mysteries or enigmas of nature. Nature is actually full of mysteries, and it's unending. Actually, I told you a word eternal in terms of I mean, in my speech, I mean, eternity that connects to the exploration of Tagore's works. But this is also eternal, that the mysteries of nature, however we try to explore it, I mean, it will never end. Mysteries will always be there. So actually, from that leanings of Tagore, he was also very much, I mean, he was a kind of very nationalistic attitude, or his attitude was to love the nature. And since I told you that all of our motherlands, respective motherlands, they are actually subset of this mundane nature. So that's why Tagore tried to, I mean, call the mother in different ways. I mean, in this song, actually, the call is very arduous, as I mentioned, that whenever a person is coming to his mother, he or she, we always want that my mother would definitely embrace me, and at the time of our distress, our mother will place us in her lap and give us asylum. So, and same is true for our motherlands, same is true for the nature, which actually Tagore always tried to emphasize and always tried to highlight. And many of his renderings like Gitanjali, these are all, I mean, the reflections of Tagore's leanings towards Brahma philosophy. I mean, a believer of God, a theist kind of cult or culture Tagore has been, I mean, adapting throughout his life. So I think that Tagore's, in all of these works of Tagore, in some places you would find that Prem and Puja, I mean, like Prem and Puja, the meaning, I mean, if you translate these two Bengali words in English, it would mean love and rendering to God. These actually, these two things in Tagore's writings, they have at some places, in many places, or in many places, they have got mixed up. Whatever we call as love, that is actually the rendering to God, or worshipping of God is actually nothing but, I mean, loving that Almighty, that Brahminic philosophy, and it's actually based on the Upanishadic. You have probably heard about Vedas and Upanishads, which are actually the basis of, I mean, giving basis to the Hindu philosophy, Hindu religious philosophy. So Tagore was actually believing in that ideals, and that same ideals are being reflected in Brahmo philosophy. And Tagore made Brahma philosophy as his practice of his life. So I believe that in all of the Tagore's work, you would find the love, worship to God, and emphasizing the abundance of mystical nature. They have all got immersed together to give you a feeling of that Almighty. Ultimately, everything merges with that Almighty. So, that is the feeling of Tagore. I'm not telling that everybody has to believe in that, but I think, and the fine tuning of the Tagore's, fine tuning of the, meaning of Tagore's works, or the vastness of all the works of Tagore, even the small poemlets. They are actually coming from his believing that everything is ultimately immersed in a single state, which is actually the universe, or the Brahma, the eternal Brahma, or eternal kind of energy. And that actually regulates everything in this universe. So I believe that everything, every creation of Tagore, you would find his leaning towards that Brahma philosophy, and in terms of the same, he's leaning towards the mystical nature, he's leaning towards love or worship to God, which are same in all of the Tagore's works actually. So this I think actually, explains, the vastness, as well as very committed, and also very what I can say, throughout his whole life actually he has been thinking of this mystical nature, this love, or which is called worship to God, and everything is actually ultimately is a rendering to that Param Brahma, or that eternal Almighty. So I think that actually, that the way I perceived Tagore's vast works is this, and this is reflected in all of his works. And I am really thankful to Dana that you have mentioned about a unpublished poem of Tagore which he wrote in Romania. So I think this whole program would be recorded, and we will share this recording so that we can also, encourage and motivate our students in the next coming days, and also in your own side. The same applies. And let's hope that this kind of programs will be, arranging off and on. Okay, so that is my feelings about Tagore's vastness, and this actually, the way actually, since he was a ardent believer of that Almighty or God, which he says, that actually makes our, submitting to the nature, mystical nature, that actually makes a person to be very emotional about each and every damn thing which he or she finds in the nature of this universe. So that's why in all of the works I'm mentioning, I'm emphasizing it, you would find that emotions are actually, pervading. Emotions are pervading the listeners, or preachers of all the Tagore's works, since he was actually he was a ardent lover of nature, or the God, or that eternal Almighty. So that's why so
thank you for sharing these thoughts with us. And for us, the Brahmo philosophy is not, specialists or those who study philosophy in detail. Otherwise, it is not widely known in Romania as such. So giving us some ideas about, the way he connected with this thinking is definitely very useful and inspiring. And I would like to ask Suhasini if now she can hear or can try again. We will see. Christina, Suhasini, can you? It doesn't come very. We will wait. We will see. Also, our student Adriana told us that she has found a poem which she would like to recite. If she's not ready now, she can get ready. And meanwhile, I would like to continue our discussion by asking Dana and Alexandra Adinapaun. So Dana, when you thought about Walt Whitman, how did you make the connection? Could you please tell us a bit more?
Yes, that was, I was also thinking about asking this because I am interested in this, the connection Dana made between Walt Whitman and Rabindranath Tagore and the self, which is projected in both Whitman's Song to Myself and Rabindranath's poem. So yes, please, Dana.
The connection I made, the common ground that I seen between these two poems that I compared was exactly this celebration of self that I suggested before. Because I felt, I don't know how to explain better, but I felt that both poets, even though they are from very different cultures and different areas on Earth, they somehow viewed the world in a very similar manner. I thought that both poems are written in a bold prophetic voice, and I tried to research a bit if Whitman was inspired by Hindu philosophy or something, and I couldn't find out anything about it. It was written that whether these resemblances are a pure coincidence or whether they point to actual indebtedness on Whitman's part to Indian sources remains uncertain in spite of the most laborious research. But what really attracted me was this particular relation to the inner self and to nature as well. I felt that both of them share this view of being totally connected in harmony with nature.
Can I add something, please, to Dana's?
Yes, sure.
Because I was thinking maybe if you want to, I don't know, research more into this, you could look at the American transcendentalists, the transcendental poets of the 19th century, because they definitely had, I mean, got inspiration from the Upanishads. So then you have this Hindu commonality, and then, well, Whitman in a way operated the transition between from transcendentalism to realism. So he's also, yeah, maybe this also explains the connection to.
Oh, that's
yeah.
What I also may mention something more about,
please.
Not about the connection with the similarities between Whitman's poem, but I found some similarities between our poet Lucian Blaga in what we call Eu nu strivesc corola de minune a lumii, I will not crush the world's corolla of wonders. I felt that this poem, this Romanian poem, is a poetic art where the author expresses his lyrical belief, his own beliefs about literary art and his vision of the world. And I also noticed Tagore's inclination towards being in harmony with also his creation. When he says the blessing of the beautiful, I thought that he refers to art, because he's able to express himself through it, and that he can be connected, and the love that he shares is the love that he shares with the people who get in touch with his creations. And the common themes that I found with Blessings Have I Won in this life, and Lucian Blaga's I Will Not Crush the World's Coral of Wonders, are the exacerbation of the creative self as a decisive factor in the relationship established with the cosmos and spiritualization. They are both very spiritual poems. And in the Romanian poem, the verse is also free, just like in Tagore's poem that I have chosen, facilitating, I think, the creative flow. In Tagore's poem, the pronoun I appears 5 times, while in Blaga's poem, I can be noticed 6 times, so it's a similar number. And this feature confirms to me that the confessional character, that the poems have a confessional character. And I felt that there are similarities in the artistic language as well, because the images provided by it indicate a secondary philosophical plan. As I said, the philosophical plan where the human being is connected to nature and to the inner self. Yes, so that's what I want to say.
And I'd like to use this opportunity of opening the door into what we may call comparative opinions and approaches, and to even ask Adina, because I know that before she made her final selection, she thought about a different approach. So Adina, would you please tell us what was your actually initial idea, which was also brilliant, but you decided, but that's also fine, to go for the poem you have given us. But I thought that your approach was also the that idea was also very interesting.
When I first heard about this event and about Tagore, my mind just flew to a book that I have read in the past, Mircea Eliade, Bengal Nights. I think it's translated in so many languages, probably even English too, or so many languages.
It is Moitrei.
Yes.
Eliade's novel in English, it runs now Haniate.
And I wanted to, I know that's the female character, Maitrey, I think. I don't know how to spell it. I apologize if it's wrong.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
She had Tagore as her spiritual mentor. She was fascinated with his philosophy, his mindset, his whole life. And there are a lot of passages where she talks about him and his philosophy. And I actually wanted to start my presentation with some quotes from the book, but unfortunately I didn't have enough time to search again through the whole book and select. It just didn't click in my mind. So I just talked about one of his Tagore's poem, but the book is very good and I really liked it. And it's very nice for a foreigner like me, because it's like an introduction to the Indian world and traditions and culture, everything. It's very nice. So yeah, that was my original idea. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but
maybe in the future.
Exactly. No problem. We will keep all ideas open. We have plenty of ideas and opportunities. And I would also like to, so is Adriana ready? Did you manage to find?
Yes, I found a poem that I really liked. I will.
And then we try again to see if we can connect with Suhosini.
One moment, just a moment. Okay. When day is done, if the day is done, if birds sing no more, if the wind has flagged tired, then draw the veil of darkness thick upon me, even as thou hast wrapped the earth with the coverlet of sleep and tenderly closed the petals of the drooping lotus at dusk. From the traveler, whose sack of provisions is empty before the voyage is ended, whose garment is torn and dust laden, whose strength is exhausted, remove shame and poverty, and renew his life like a flower under the cover of thy kindly night. I really like that poem because I don't know, that poem express a lot of things. I learned to appreciate the little things more by reading this poem.
Thank you, Adriana.
Pleasure.
And I think it also conveys the idea of a very long journey, just like life is for all of us. And also the way one tries to go out of darkness, which can be seen as symbolizing standing for sometimes either ignorance, sometimes fear, frightening elements, and so on. Or, but at the end, the poet also refers to the kindly night. So it can also be a welcoming presence embracing the whole world. So
I would like to add something, if I may.
Please. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm sorry, there's a connection problem, network problem. Okay, yes, I was actually reading an article by William Radici. He is a noted Tagore scholar, so many of you may have heard about him. So, and he has written about Tagore's death, not only to the Brahma movement. Really his father was one of the founders of the Brahma movement in Kolkata, Brahma movement we call it. But not only that, Radici also draws our attention to indebtedness to the Vaishnava philosophy, and particularly the idea of lila or play. The Bengali word is lila. It means play. So basically,
it means what? I could not hear you.
Play.
Play.
Yes, yeah, play. So it's like the world is like a stage, and it's almost like Shakespeare, but where it differs from Shakespeare is because it is a divine play. So God is the the director, but God is also the actors and actresses, because in a way, as it has been pointed out repeatedly, that according to the Brahma philosophy as well as the Vaishnava philosophy, that we are all extensions of the Creator. So the idea of lila, that whatever we do on earth is basically a sort of a play, nothing but a play. So that is something which Tagore had worked on, and which Radici draws our attention to. So I think that might be some thing we can think on. I mean, the way the idea of play becomes something Tagore focuses in these poems. So a journey that is also a play.
Well,
so that's, I think, all I wanted to share. Yeah.
Let me just emphasize what lila means is, Ayushman told it. I just want to add a phrase into that. Actually, it means playfulness. Lila is actually playfulness. And that playfulness in his words is divine, since it is actually, going to the God, or rendering to the God, or worshipping to the God. So everything we do in this mundane world are actually, adds to our a history of playfulness. So Leela means playfulness, actually.
Well, I also have a, because we are here, maybe I would like to invite Christian, because his poem was about playthings, and maybe, I don't know, we can all actually comment a little bit upon this idea of the childish presence, innocence in relation to, yeah, in contrast with something else in the poem, at least. I don't know. Christian, could you see?
As we know, Tagore really appreciated the nature and took a lot of inspiration from it in his poems. And I think here that he's trying to emphasize the concept of being humble and not getting greedy, which is an anti-natural, one could argue, an anti-natural thing. I think he also tries to emphasize exactly this. So we kind of grow up too quickly, and one could argue that children are much closer to the pure state, natural state of the human being, not judgmental, so not greedy also, and playful, regarding playfulness. So I think that's where we should analyze as a direction, the aspects we should analyze in his playthings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought it connected well with what they previously mentioned about this Leela, and if we think about Vishnu and Krishna, well, who appears like childlike posture, let's say.
So Hasini, we are ready. If you can try again.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, now yes. You see, so perseverance is the key to success. Please.
Yeah. I'm very sorry. Here, very connection problem is very every day it happens. So
please start reciting to make sure that it doesn't leave us again.
Okay, ma'am. Sure. So I'd like to recite one poem from Rabindranath Tagore's book, Khea, which is in English, which means that the boat. And the name of my poem is The Last Sail. And here it is. At the end of the day, from the land of sleep far away, the veiled, shadowy silhouette figure is consoling me, consoling my soul forever. From the other side of the golden river, from the dark, mysterious cover, singing that my jobs are all over. At the end of the day, hiding the face, ending all grace, those who are leaving this place, never looking behind for solace, with their return tide flow. Today I leave home and go. The dark evening is coming. The day is ending. I hear them to say, the one to take me sailing today with the last sail of the day. I hear them say, the end of the day. Those who are to return back home long ago have returned to their home. Those who to cross the river have crossed over. Who is not at home yet, not across the river, the one who is stuck in the middle, which day and riddle is calling him back there. The one without the beauty of flower, the one who failed as a grower, the one whose tears cause only laughter, the one whose day is no more light, whose evening failed to lit up the light, that one is now waiting at the bay with the fly. To hear them say, the one to take me sailing today with the last sail of the day. At the end of the day, the return tide of the evening is continuously bringing a boat or two just drifting. How can I find that one? That one to take me away, the one coming from my home far at the end of the day, when the sun sets on the day, touching the treetops with its last day, their shadows shades dark on its way. Hearing all of the one who will end all, of the one who caused our rise and fall, I hear them say, the one to take me sailing today with the last sail of the day. I hear them to say, end of my day. I hear them to say, the end of my day. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you for your poem, your choice, and the way you recited it in a slow pace, but we could follow some of the verses or parts of the verses just like a refrain coming up again and again, sustaining the fiber of the poem.
Yes, ma'am.
It's very difficult to add opinions after you hear such a poem. But we also notice that the diversity of his writing is obvious. I think we still have a couple of things to explore in our shared discussion. So I would like to hear from Ria if she can listen and be with us about the poem she recited. Ria, are you here? Actually, maybe it is
Sanchoita, I think it is Sanchoita. She's
Sanchoita.
Yes.
Okay. Sanchoita, are you? Can you hear? And yeah. Okay. Could you please tell us your thoughts about the poem you have recited earlier? Because I think bringing up these opinions make us understand our choices, but in a more comprehensive picture.
Yes, ma'am. Poet Rabindranath Tagore is a world of innocence, and his mind is filled with purity and passion, having the ability to reach to the universe of eternity. And according to him, childhood is the best destination of integrity, where there is no greed, no pain, no aspirations. In this sense, Rabindranath Tagore is archetypal sojourn, and having consent with all human bondage, Tagore wishes to follow the path of never ending, where we can remember the holy scriptures, Upanishads. And in this concept to justify on the seashore, I bring the illusion of metaphysics and romanticisms. And Rabindranath Tagore's cosmopolitan ideology has also been established through his connection of childhood experiences. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. And I would also like to ask Bianca about the poem she have recited earlier. Could you also explain why you have why have you gone for this particular choice? And I remember that in the discussion upon, what poem you would like, you have mentioned, and please mention it with everyone else, because I really like the comments you have told me when you have discovered this poem. And also about your grandma, please.
Okay, so my grandmother is really big fan of Tagore's writings, and I really love this poem because it is extremely deep, and somehow I find myself in that intimacy. I think that his also association between a love and nature is wonderful. Here, his perspective on love is absolutely amazing, and all I can say is that I was completely touched by his words. I think that it is a small poem, but it has a big power. I don't know, it is the poetry of the soul, the poetry of the heart, the meeting of the soul with the supreme soul, and the mind with the overmind, and the self with the greater self. And I just love it. Yes, I think that it is really beautiful, and it expresses a lot of things, and I'm just happy to be here and share this with you. Thank you.
And now I would also like us to have a very sort of common question. When we looked at was it a very, and so my question is to everybody now, was this a very easy choice? You immediately found that poem? Did you hesitate? Did you have different versions? In what way you made a selection? Because I think that even this sort of learning and experience as a process helps us in connecting with the others and with literary creation. How did you make the choice? Was it immediate, direct? Did you take a while? Did you hesitate?
Well, personally, I had to choose between three of his poems. The first one was Light, Oh, Where is the Light? And I love that poem. The second one was Art Thou Abroad on this Stormy Night on Thy Journey? It was amazing, but I think that Clouds Heap Upon Clouds and It Darkens was my favorite one because I don't know, it was, for me, I felt that this is the one and I should go for it because it expresses a lot. And yes, that's why I've chosen this poem.
And the other students, would you please tell us? How did you make your own choice?
For me, for example, it was really simple because between me and Blessings Have I Won in This Life felt like love at first sight. I had to choose between this one and Baby's World. I loved that one as well because it mentions the innocence of the child and and the connection with the nature and the mind of a small child, and it was really beautiful and touching. But I still settled for the one that I recited, for the one with the blessings, because I don't know, it felt like I was connected to it as well. And I loved many of his poems, but this one was, I felt like it was special for me.
And I also have a question for Dr. Chakraborty and Dr. Chattopadhyay. As we have seen, these were the choices of our students. We are also very young, but of course not that young. So my question is that, do you feel that, when students, everybody, those who do like literature, go into the world of his poems? Do you see any sort of changes? Or maybe even your, I don't know, parents or those in your family preferred other types of poems? Maybe more into connect.
Well, Ayushman, give your view.
Or
Thank you, sir. The criticism that was leveled against Tagore in the later generations, I know that it was because his poems are overtly mystical, and it was believed for a while, of course, that idea has been given up now, but it was, and there was reason for it too. I mean, harsh realities of the aftermath of the partition and the independence. So naturally, there was for a while a sort of an idea that Rabindranath was a bourgeois poet, and therefore, unreal as such, not connected to the material realities of life. But anyway, I mean, there was a reason for that too, perhaps, but we cannot really think of Tagore in these terms. In my own humble opinion, we cannot really think of Tagore in these terms. It is true that he actively avoided politics because he wanted to be neutral, he wanted to be creative. But that doesn't really mean that he never took part. He took part in the Swadeshi movement, but left it when it became violent. He was against nationalism in its most chauvinistic form, but that doesn't mean that he was against politics. So he finds he has something to say for every sphere of life, and I think that is why he's relevant today. So that's what I think. That's why we need to return to Tagore, to remember him, to read him, because he speaks to our heart. But of course, I mean, the views might differ. I acknowledge that, and well, it is. So that's all I think.
Well, thank you, Ayushman, for making the point that making the point of criticism by a section of Indians, so to say, regarding Tagore's creations, I mean literary creations. Actually, if you look, I mean the feeling or the realization about the whole of this nature or the society, I mean, which is part of the mundane nature, comes through the upbringings you are having in your from your childhood to a certain stage of your life, say when you are just going to the hard real world, I mean, where you have to I mean, earn your own bread and butter for everyday sustenance. In that terms, actually Tagore was a bit gifted. He was born in a Jamindar family, I mean, a very affluent family, and his family background was really, I mean, very, very high. I mean, I think that you are quite aware about his educational background. He was never educated in a, I mean, that formal schooling system. He was educated at home, and his family could provide that kind of leisure to him. His father, Rabindranath Tagore, was a very posh and very, I mean, affluent Jamindar of, I mean, feudal landlord, so to say. So his actually, I think that his, I mean, upbringings made an impression about, made an impression on his works. I mean, he did, or his lifestyle he followed in the future course or in the later course of his life. But still, I would like to mention that probably there was a kind of, during the time of Tagore, no other literary personality could surpass his, kind of talents, or his prodigal nature, or his brilliance. So that was probably a kind of frustration, which is actually, actually embroiling within the minds of other people who has been trying their, career in literary creations. But I must mention that many of the creations of Tagore, which are actually, coming from his commitment to the Brahmo philosophy, are definitely away from the, common mass or common people at that point of time, who were really striving to have meals for, day and night. That was a very difficult time when Tagore was, living in this world. That was a very difficult time in terms of this Indian continent. So, in his parallel, actually, some other poets, as Daniela, you just asked us to mention. At the same time or a bit later, there was a poet called Kazi Nazrul Islam, who was actually talking about the common mass or common souls of India. And also, he was actually very, he raised his voice against the divisive politics or divisive, ruling strategies of the imperialists at that point of time. Let me not mention that because that's a history now. So, Kazi Nazrul Islam was actually, all other poets during Tagore's time, they were all influenced by Tagore's Gharana or Tagore's that kind of, type of creations Tagore has been doing. But only the poet who could only come out from that influence was Kazi Nazrul Islam. And his, most of his poems or most of his creations were really very down to earth, and it was highly and very prolific manner. It was, it has talked about the toiling masses of this country, and for that matter, the whole world during that time. I guess that all these creators, all these literary creators during that time, in the backdrop of Second World War, I mean, not only in India, but throughout the world, as some of your students have been mentioning about Wheatstone and other, maybe that if we explore, you would find many of the connections. Just to mention that I find a lot of influences of Tagore's songs on the renditions of Beatles. I mean, you would find a lot of songs sung by Beatles, that group. They were taken from the tunes. Lot of their songs, the tune is taken from or adapted from Tagore songs, and vice versa. You would find that lot of Tagore songs. That actually this song which I have been singing, it is actually called the Tagore's in Tagore songs. Some of the Tagore songs, they were all really very influenced by the Western culture during that time. Since Tagore had been, I mean, traveling on lecture tour and friendship tour in the European countries, so that also influenced him. But still, I believe that, I mean, not only Tagore, Kazi Nazrul Islam, or all the poets, all the literary creators during that period, in the backdrop of Second World War and just after that. I mean, it's a kind of proverbial phrase that a world war actually, give vents to a lot of talents in the worldly arena. So probably that has happened. and their, I mean, sustaining influence is still there, still with us, and let us try to carry forward this mixed legacy. Not only Tagore and all these other who had also been talking about toiling masses, because that is also a part of our society. And there are struggles all through this world. You would find that people are struggling against, people are fighting against innumerable avenues of, exploitations. And these exploitations are remaining. That is why there are discriminations and disparities in our society. So, in some of his poems, Tagore talked about these disparities and discriminations, and gave call to the people during that time to rise against these disparities. But it was done much more in terms of Indian subcontinent or India by Kazi Nazrul Islam, whose call was really very ardent and very, emotive and very, fruitful. And like you would find in other countries also, there had been many other literary creators who worked throughout their life against all sorts of these exploitations. So I think that taking cue from these, legendary figures, we should try our, we should try our, we should try to motivate us to fight against all these innumerable avenues of exploitations in the society, so that we can have a beautiful and beautiful, discriminationless society in the near future, in which our next generation will really rejoice their life, and they will be much more creative in all sense, in every sense. Okay, so this is, I think, it's my feeling actually.
Thank you for your thoughts. Yes. And also, I know that you do not know, but these days I saw it on Facebook. Also in Romania, we celebrate another major personality. There is a series of films and documentaries dedicated to Satyajit Ray, which I'm fascinated by, and I just love his films and the poetics of his films. And also we did not have time today to look very much or to connect poetry into what Shantiniketan continues to be, because poetry is not just an isolated creative territory, but he just left such a durable educational institution, which maybe other writers did not manage, although they tried to affirm their role into society, they did not have. And also in a documentary I saw yesterday, that he, before the first buildings came up, were raised, he himself sold part of his property, and his wife also sold some of her jewelry, because a large amount of money was necessary for the school to start. So I think later that Tagore got support from other personalities, or maybe even governmental entities, but this is another incredible achievement he left to India, that he believed in the role of education, that the school needs to shape human beings in connecting with what he thought that it was a very open and welcoming learning. Yeah, which we do now, because we are and we aren't between four walls. We are between the four walls of our personal homes, but we are also open in between the two countries, and also the other presences, the other writers we have mentioned.
Well, okay.
Please.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was also thinking about the way in which, well, his poetic ideas and philosophical ideas, of course, relate to his educational system that promoted this connection between nature and teaching and learning. So, and if I'm not mistaken, Maria Montessori actually took over some of his principles from Shantiniketan, in which I remember I watched a documentary about how students were supposed to, I mean, they had the painting, dancing, and also in nature, and all sorts of tasks that in a way increase their responsibilities, and this kind of practical approach to learning. So I think this is an important legacy that was taken over by the West too. So
yeah, in some sense, actually, the vocational part of our learning, that is also Tagore thought it quite long time back.
Yes,
I mean, should go. I mean, theoretical and vocational, both type of learning should go hand in hand, and that was his. That was his. I mean, with that ambition, he has actually founded Vishwabharati. And I just want to mention that in the poem I have been reciting and the translation I have recited, I mean, that is actually I don't know whether you have followed it. I mentioned it, that it was first written by Tagore in the notebook of Satyajit Ray, who has been visiting as a very small boy Shantiniketan. He was paying visit with his mother to Rabindranath Tagore. And Satyajit Ray had lot of influences. I mean, he has got influenced by the ideals and philosophy and lifestyle and the teachings of Tagore. Even Satyajit Ray's father, Sukumar Ray, he was also a very poet. I mean, he was a very renowned poet, but his poems are all really, I mean, full of sarcasms, but he talks about reality during that time. So I think we can think of, yeah, I mean, having discussions with our respective, I mean, students, along with our respective students in the future endeavors. I thank you all. I mean, especially, I mean, Dana, Elena, Ayushman, and all our students. I mean, and His Excellency, the Indian Ambassador, for making this program a real success.
Yeah, thank you. It was very, very nice, and everybody involved was really wonderful, and all the contributions were nice. So, thank you.
I would also like now to invite you again, Dr. Chattopadhyay, to tell us your final words for the closing of this session today. Because I do know that you are you are a teacher, you are a scientist. I am sure that you have a family and they have to cope just like our students who were patient to take their time today to get into this event. And you are also a principal, so a governmental official. And maybe you tell us your final words about Tagore, but also the role of committed individual into today's world.
Well, I mean, as Ayushman mentioned, and I also talked about the lasting influence of the creations of Tagore. Though that is still relevant in our everyday life, as well as in our moving towards, in our practice in our own life, with advancing time. In each and every damn aspect or respect, we try to, see or explore what Tagore had to say about that aspect of life. And we really try to follow in many ways, the kind of preachings or the practices he has, left for us in the historical, in his historical deeds. For today's program, thinking of this program, contemplating it and making it a very stark reality, involving the students of our respective motherlands, India and Romania. I must acknowledge that so many of your students, they are really they are really scintillating, and their actually fondness about Tagore's creations are really remarkable and marvelous. And I get emotionally touched by their words when they have been talking about. Together with that, I must mention that our students too, they are really very fantastic. Look, our college is located in a very fringe district. In an international fringe of a fringe district, North 24 Parganas. You have come to Taki. You have seen that there is a river called Ichamoti, which is actually the lifeline of Taki. And just beyond that river, the other bank of the river, if you look through, is a different country, which is Bangladesh, which was once integrated to this Indian subcontinent. And we have the similar kind of culture. We have similar kind of, everything. Our lifestyle, our day-to-day, practices, all are very similar. Still, because of some historical, I should say that, a kind of blunder, or say something like that, we had to get partition. Well, still we try to keep in touch in terms of our culture and ethos. And in terms of that, I just want to mention that our students, coming from that college, they're really trying to come up to the level at par with many other talented students. Personally, I believe that all of us individually, we may not be the first, but we are all individually second to none, being members of the species Homo sapiens. So I would rather advise, or I would rather give a call to all our students. See, we are all, in our respective life, we are in a very advanced level. We have got what we cherished in our life. Our students had to get their dues in future. So I would tell them that, think that you are second to none. You may not be first, but you are second to none. You are no less than anybody else in this world. So try very hard to, scintillate, to flourish in your own life, respective life, and in that way try to enrich the human civilization and human society. And I personally, I thank once again Dana, Elena, and Ayushman to make this event a very grand success, and definitely our students who are actually looking forward to their future life. Okay, thank you everybody. This is my word. And let me just mention one word. From, you must have heard about Paul Robson. He was actually a kind of singer, like, who has been talking about the toiling masses, that we are all in the same boat, brother. If you tip one end, you gonna rock the other in the same boat, brother. So we are all in the same boat, sailing together. So let us try to reach our destination, cherished destination, so that we can enrich our civilization and our society. Okay, so this is my feelings and my words which I had in mind to talk about.
Thank you very much for your final view upon Tagore and also our role in the society. And if there are no further ideas or opinions, I think that we can close these events. And I definitely wish, before doing this, I wish to thank all students, because I know that you have done this at your choice, and probably on top of many other written or oral assignments you have, and projects, and lots of things you do in your study. So this was coming on top of it, but I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope that you don't regret it. And we all hope to meet again at the beginning of the next academic year. And also our thoughts are very much with all affected by COVID in India or in Romania. And we are convinced that slowly and gradually, with the support of science and vaccination continuing to roll out, the situation will gradually improve.
Yeah.
Probably it will improve after we do face very difficult circumstances, but this is also another part of our learning. Because
yeah,
we have to adapt to the situation and then still flourish.
So again, what you said, it is very true that we are all in the same boat, and we have to try and survive and support others.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And
Goodbye.
I will ask Ayushman to get the recording. I think you started it, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
It is recorded on cloud.
Okay.
It is recorded. It is being recorded on cloud. Yes.
Okay, so let us share that recording.
I also have some screenshots for those interested. So
yeah,
We
sure,
will share. We will share.
Share it in email.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.
Shubharat.
Shubharatri.
Shubharatri.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay. Okay.